It's Kevin Keatsman Uncanceled on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
Good morning, Kansas City. Welcome to Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. I'm Kevin Keatsman, getting you ready for the weekend. I got a bounce in my step today. Just feeling great. Loved the end of the Chiefs draft last night. The Royals got a sweep of the Colorado Rockies. Won a doubleheader. We'll do some sports a little bit later on. I know many of you probably are wanting to hear more about the draft here at the start of the show. We just did a little bit with Pete there. We will talk a little bit later about what the Chiefs have done and where they're headed in this draft, and also an amazing viral moment from a New York Giants fan who was clearly inebriated before the draft started yesterday outside Lambeau Field when a reporter from Barstool or somebody was walking around doing fan interviews. And this guy made the most unbelievable analysis of what he thought the Giants should do in the first round, and it happened. It's remarkable. You got to hear this. We'll play that for you a little bit later on. You're going to love that. Also, Dogs Gone Wild in Kansas City is going to be a big topic coming up in just a few minutes, but we'll start today with a little bit of national news. Trump's on Air Force One. He's on his way to Rome for the Pope's funeral. He's going to be meeting with a bunch of leaders over there. And before he left, the first things they're asking him is about, are you talking to Xi? Xi says you're not talking. You say they are, this and that. And Trump says, I'm not talking about Xi. I'm not talking to anything about him. We're talking to China. We're figuring this out. They've continually said they're close on Japan. They're basically done with India. They've got Japan, South Korea is very close. All these countries, and now he says he's going to sit down in Italy with leaders from Europe around the Pope's funeral and get deals done with them. And there's something going on here that's really amazing to me, and that is these reporters that keep asking Trump like he's some sort of a fool and doesn't know how to negotiate and do a deal. And the headline of today's show, Uncanceled today, is this: Trump literally wrote the book on the art of the deal. And now people are – you can question a lot of things about his presidency. Does he know geopolitical things? Does he know military? Does he understand this? You know, Robert F. Kennedy's doing all this healthy stuff. Doesn't look like Trump spent a whole lot of his time in his life worrying about health and food and things like that. There's a lot of things, and he even said it during COVID. Hey, I'm deferring here to Fauci and Scarf Lady because this is not my area. Questioning this president on negotiating is insane. He starts this negotiation from a position of strength. We're the largest economy in the world, and we completely, absolutely financially have been ripped off by every country on earth for generations. Since World War II, this has been happening. So anything he gains is a win. This is the important part. If he gets 5% tariffs on all these countries, do you know how much money that is? Do you have any idea how much money that is? So he's not going to give away. I've got this theory. I think he's done with a bunch of these deals. I think a whole bunch of them are done, and they've all got agreements. We're not talking about them yet. We're not going to release what the details are of these. They're probably all very similar with our friendly countries. I'm working on China. China's the big one. We don't want them to see yours is going to be, 11% or something like that, and we're trying to get more out of China. And they may not get China there. It may wind up being less than the other countries. But it's the art of the deal. As long as there's stability here in the United States and people aren't freaking out and the markets didn't crash, they've rebounded pretty nicely, and we don't have crazy unemployment numbers or economic numbers, as long as that isn't happening, there is no rush here, folks. The important thing is to get the best deal you can get. And sometimes you do it by saying things publicly and letting them think what your hand is. And other times it's you have something done and nobody knows it except the people who've agreed to it. The classic example of how this works is watching the Kansas City Chiefs in the NFL draft. And they did it last night. Were there other teams really calling for the 31st pick? Didn't matter. The Eagles wanted it. The Chiefs were not taking the Eagles player. So it doesn't really matter what was happening. The Eagles believed another team was going to make a deal with Kansas City to 31. And what the Chiefs did was move down one spot to get the exact player they were going to get at 31 and get a free player in the 5th round for absolutely nothing other than they're good at this. That's how it works. Trump's doing the same thing, and I think it's really strange that they're asking all these questions. And like, well, you don't know what you're doing here. You haven't talked to Xi. You're not doing this. You want to hurry this? This is important stuff. It's 100, no, not even 100 days yet. This is really, really, really important stuff. To not just get it right, it doesn't have to be perfect, but to get the ball moving in the direction of the United States. It doesn't. Again, any tariffs, any gain is a win. And Trump knows that. And maybe he is close on these other deals with these other countries, and they're not done. But maybe if he holds out another week or two, he gets another point or another 2 points. And instead of let's say instead of a 12% tariff, he gets a 15% tariff by waiting 2 more weeks. That sounds like a win. These are all wins. It can't get worse for Trump. It's not going to get worse. It's not going to go backwards. He's weathered the storm of the mayhem of this thing. It's not going to get – the deals they have on the table with everyone right now are not going to get worse. I don't think people understand that. If a country has agreed to something and we're like, yeah, okay, but we haven't signed it, it isn't going to get worse. It can only get better. These countries have said, we need you. We've agreed to this term. And, well, let's just wait here a couple of weeks and see if we can't get a couple more points out of these guys. That's how it works. So I'm not worried about that. The other story that I've been following that not a lot of people are is I don't care about this MS-13 guy that's in El Salvador. I don't give 2 spits about him. And I'm tired of the stories about all the terrible things he did here because I knew on day one if they deported him and the judges said he was MS-13 and the police caught him with other gang members, we knew he's a gang member. We know he's a terrorist. He's defined as a terrorist now that need to be deported. That's gone. I don't care about all the different – there's a million different reasons and things this guy did, and it's getting worse for the Democrats that are trying to support this guy. But that's not the point of my comments on this today. What is unbelievable is how uncommitted Democrats are to what they stand for. They literally made a crap show out of going to El Salvador. Senator Van Halen went to El Salvador and said, I want to see my guy, and then they set him up. They set up a deal where there were margaritas served, and it looked like he was on vacation, and they made him look like a tool. Senator Van Halen looked like a tool. And he's sitting there with a gang member, and then the gang member became – then, 4 or 5 people you never heard of said, well, we got to go. He's getting a lot of publicity. We're going to go. And these 4 people get there from Congress, and they say, we're not leaving until this is over, until he's returned. We're not leaving. Well, they stayed a couple of days. They learned more about him. More news came out about him, and they left. This is what they do. They plant their flag. They say this is not the art of the deal. Democrats do not understand the art of the deal. We're not going to take any exceptions. We're planting our flag right here. We're not dealing with you, Trump. We're dealing with El Salvador, and we're getting this guy, and we're bringing him home. And what happened was they went to El Salvador and found out that guy's tougher than Trump because he can be. And what he's doing in El Salvador, they just love across the board. He's making it safe, and he's got a poverty-stricken country that's pulling out of that, and people walking the streets now that feel safe. And Bukele, the president of El Salvador, isn't going anywhere. And he doesn't give a spit about these Democrats at all. Nothing. He doesn't care about these people. Nothing. So they come home. What do they do when they get home? Senator Van Halen does an interview, and he says, vote with your feet, people. Costa Rica is beautiful. He's saying boycott El Salvador. Don't go there. Don't visit there. Don't go to their beaches. The governor of Illinois, Pritzker, the second richest man in government in America, is reviewing all contracts with Illinois and El Salvador and saying he's going to cut them off economically from anything with the state of Illinois. They've turned on them. They went there a week ago and said, okay, we got Trump beat. We're going to go talk to these people, and we're going to get this guy free and bring him home. A week later, boycott this nation. We're going to embargo them. Don't visit there. These people stand for nothing. They really don't know what they're doing. The art of their deal is they just step in it. It's like 2 people are negotiating. Be careful. There's quicksand between us. We have to negotiate across the quicksand. Don't step in the quicksand. And they just fall in the quicksand every time. They're really, this is an old reference. Mark, you probably don't even know this show. But they remind me a little bit of Gilligan from Gilligan's Island.
Oh, yeah, I remember that show.
Okay. So they do the dumbest thing ever, the silliest, dumbest thing ever. And somehow, in the end, it's okay. Gilligan doesn't get destroyed. The headhunters take him away, but he doesn't die. It always works out okay in the end. The Democrats are like that. Everything's a complete train wreck. They're completely incompetent, and somehow their party is still intact, and almost half of Americans vote for them. I literally can't figure this out, how they do it, but they have been doing it. It's just nuts. They want boycotts on El Salvador now. All right, your thoughts on that and anything else that's going on, we'll take your phone calls if you would like to join us on KCMO Talk Radio. Give me a shout right now. The phone lines are open. We got a big dog story to talk about in Kansas City as well, and we'll do that next as Uncanceled continues on KCMO Talk Radio. Welcome back to Uncanceled. Great to have you with us on this Friday. Hope everybody's excited for the weekend, what's ahead. Whatever your plans are, we hope they're safe and fun and enjoyable. And if you work on the weekends like I did for 10 years, just know that you're helping an awful lot of other folks. We appreciate those people that do work on the weekends or night shifts, folks like that. We've all been through it at one point or another. It is great to have you out there doing your very best, so we appreciate that. If you'd like to join the conversation today, here we go, 913-408-7957 with any comments that you have, including Chiefs draft or whatever's on your mind today is just fine. Fridays are kind of like that. I saw this story in the Northland in North Kansas City. As you know, me and my wife Jessica and our little dog Cabo are very much into the dog. It's a dog's life around our house. 3 raised kids, gone, old, out, living their own lives. And so we have this little dog, and he's the center of our world. And while he's not a child, we kind of treat him like a child. He's not a human, I guess I should say. He's our little child. And a lot of people with dogs are like that. They have very close relationships with their dogs. So we're the folks that believe that when you see an unruly dog, it is not every time. There are rabid dogs. There are dogs that are old or crazy or get sick or whatever. That when you see a dog that is not well behaved, it is almost always a reflection of the owner of the dog. And it's their problem. And it's the reason they're bad. It's the reason they're dangerous or unruly or whatever it may be. This story is very serious, and most people will not look at this as a serious story. This is a serious story about dogs. In North Kansas City, there's a neighborhood where neighbors are walking around in the neighborhood that they live with a man named Nicholas Klug, who has been cited by authorities on multiple occasions after one of his 7 dogs in October, a Cane Corso, which is a large dog, mauled a man or attacked a man. He has 7 dogs in his yard, and at least 3 of them have escaped and created havoc in dangerous situations. I want to remind people that big dogs that are not supposed to be roaming the streets kill children. They don't always kill adults, but they can. And if a dog is large enough, any of us could die from a dog gone wild. This man has 7 dogs. They're escaping his yard. The dog that bit the man in October was quarantined and found to be healthy and not dangerous, so they returned him home. Dogs are by nature territorial. If they get outside their boundary and they're around their fences, they will protect those fences where they live from anything, especially if they're yard dogs and haven't been trained to do things that most people who domesticate their animals and they live in their home with them and whatever, they're trained to do all kinds of things and don't act like this. They see other people all the time, and they're not afraid of other people or other dogs. My dog would get chewed alive by one of this man's dogs. It sounds like it's pretty wild at his place and pretty easy for his dogs to get out. They returned the dog after it was determined that the dog was healthy. They told the man, if it happens again, you're going to be in trouble. 2 other dogs have escaped in this neighborhood, and now residents are walking around with baseball bats, tennis rackets, pepper spray, air horns, and tasers. Can somebody please tell me what's going on in the Northland? This is extremely dangerous. If this man cannot keep his dogs inside the fence, and there's been 3 occurrences of that now, and let's say a 12-year-old is walking his 5-year-old little brother to the park to shoot hoops or do whatever, that 5-year-old's in real danger. The 12-year-old is too, but the 5-year-old's in real danger from these dogs. They cannot allow something that's this public for this many months in a neighborhood where you're not overreacting. People who don't like dogs or no dogs can overreact around dogs, and I respect that. I respect the fact that you don't know or whatever. Like, if you're afraid of my dog, I respect you for being afraid of my dog. My dog will not harm you. I know this. My dog is on a leash, which is also good. But if you don't like dogs or think they're scary or whatever, I respect that. We have to respect the human rights here, and the rights are that the people that live in this neighborhood should not be terrified of one homeowner's dogs because he lets them keep getting out. There's only one solution here. I brought this up to Jessica. I said, if you're the mayor, what do you do? And she said, I don't know, but this is going to end badly. They're going to put these dogs down. I said, well, they'll take them in, and somebody will put them in a shelter, and they'll try to adopt them. We'll see. You may be right. They may have to put these dogs down if they keep escaping and terrorizing people. The solution is arresting the man if it happens again. That's the solution, because he won't like jail. And you can laugh about that, about your dogs getting loose, but we all know somebody who knows nothing about owning dogs. Nothing. Their dog's a terror. They do all kinds of things. And maybe they don't have the time for it. Maybe they're too busy with the kids. Maybe they just, a lot of people think they want to have a dog because they've seen other people's dogs and they think it's easy. It's not easy. They need to be trained. They need to be taken care of. They need to know boundaries. And we're not perfect dog owners. I'm not suggesting that. We're not. We'll never be. I'm not Cesar Millan, for crying out loud. But our dog's no danger to anyone. We fear of our dog getting loose because he's a smaller dog. We have coyotes, fox, predators all over our neighborhood. They're everywhere. And we back up to the woods. So we don't even let him sit outside on a tether, on a leash anymore, because we're afraid a coyote may walk up in the yard and who knows what would happen. The only solution in this neighborhood for these people is to do something with this man. Maybe you take all the dogs, but he will get more dogs. I don't know the laws. I don't know the situation. But I think we need to be on notice. You can laugh this off as a dog story if you want. We need to be on notice. If these people are walking around with tasers for dogs running wild in their neighborhood and they're terrified and scared of this man's dogs, I was terrified of a dog as a kid, and I've turned into a dog lover. Right across the street was a big German shepherd named Fritz, and he was scary, and he got loose every now and then. I don't know if he ever bit anybody or not, but we were terrified. We had to walk right by their house to go down to Mission Bowl every Saturday morning to bowl, and it was terrifying. I know what that feels like. We've got to respect the humans here above the dogs, but it is also not fair to these dogs because they don't know any better, clearly don't know any better, and they want out of there, and they want to be wild, and they want to roam, and they want to run around and create havoc. I don't know the laws, but I do know this. The human is the end of this story. Nicholas Klug, if you know him, living in the Northland, has got to fix this situation. You can't have this. I do not want this story to end in some kid in the hospital. This just can't happen. I can't believe it's been going on this many months and multiple dogs have escaped this yard, and this is what the neighbors have resorted to, and they are demanding action in this neighborhood. Like, they are on it. They are upset, and they're on edge every single day because these dogs, I get it. I've been on walks before with my dog and go by a yard or something where I'm unfamiliar, it's new or something, and a really giant dog, you don't see him, and they go rushing toward the fence, and you think, oh, my God, can that dog get over this fence? Because he's terrifying. We've all felt that from a dog, even dog lovers. You got to take care of the person. Whatever's happening in this neighborhood, I'll support the homeowners that are scared. And I love dogs. I always want to support dogs. I support these homeowners and their rights to live safely and peacefully without walking around and buying tasers because there's dogs in their neighborhood. If you would like to join us, 913-408-7957 is the number to call, and we start out today with Jeff. Good morning, Jeff. You're on KCMO Talk Radio. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great. Great show. Hey, riddle me this. How come this man that dressed up as a woman and went up in the YMCA, how come we never, ever, ever see a woman saying she's a man going into a man's bathroom? The only time I see it is at Arrowhead or a concert. But you never see a woman that's transitioning to a man going. You never show me the data on how many women they're transitioning into a man that go in a man's bathroom. I don't know of any.
Well, you make an excellent point, and the problem, if that happened, the problem with that is you'd need about 8 men's locker rooms instead of 1.
Yeah, but it's never going to happen.
I don't think you knew what I meant. I meant everybody would join the Y, and they would go, and they would wait in the locker room for the women to show up and walk around naked. It'd be like a strip club.
No, this whole thing about the men wanting to go in the women's bathroom, that's just, to me, it's creepy. It's so creepy. I never thought we'd be in this world, man. But, hey, great show, and take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it. I'm 100% with him. And it almost seems like it should just be against the law. Not only do we allow it, it seems like it should be against the law. I think in public places, which technically this is sort of public, right? It's a locker room with people you don't know. I know you've made the choice to go in there. It's not the grocery store, okay? But you've made the choice to go in there and be part of this, or sometimes if even it's a club or whatever. Are you kidding me? You have specific showers and locker rooms for biological males and biological females. I can't even believe we're having this discussion. Even Europe has this right. In the United Kingdom, the Supreme Court just ruled that a woman is an adult female biologically, period. And you cannot call yourself a woman. England, of all places, is saying, no, you can't just call yourself a woman. I don't know what this guy did or didn't do. I don't know how dressed up like a woman he was. I don't know. But when the mom and the daughter saw him, apparently he had nothing on. There was no hiding the fact that he was not a woman, in fact, in the women's locker room. Those are just stupid, stupid stories that we even have to deal with this stuff. I don't know how we got to this point. I feel like it's going to get corrected. You know, we haven't corrected a lot of things in my lifetime. I used to have this blanket statement. I would say it over and over to people. Once something is put in place, they never take it away. Everybody's always been like, well, I'm so worried about Social Security. I'm like, no, they put it in place. They're never taking it away. They'll go in debt. They'll do whatever they do. They're not taking it away. Once you put a law in place, they're not taking it away. It's kind of been my whole life. It's been that way. Trump's changing that. You know, we gave the Panama Canal away for $1. Trump got it back. It's always been the Gulf of Mexico. Now it's the Gulf of America. We're sort of in this we went too far phase that we want to get some of this back because it makes sense to have it back. This seems like an area to me. How long ago was it that was it the NBA that canceled, Mark, you remember this, the NBA canceled the All-Star game in Charlotte because of a bathroom issue? Is that right? And that's been 15 years ago, maybe?
In baseball, too.
Yeah, baseball, the All-Star game was in Atlanta.
Thing.
It was over social justice, I think, or something. But
weird time.
The Charlotte thing must have been 15 years ago now that the bathroom issue came up. And this is where it's led to creepers walking around in a Northland YMCA in front of a mother and 7-year-old daughter with his junk hanging out. Well, not hanging out. It's just out. It just is what it is. Just freeballing, you know?
Sweetheart. Something like that.
I've seen women in this locker room, and you definitely are not a woman, sir. Be my response. It's stupid, but this should be at the very top of the list of things we take back. But it's the same thing with men and women's sports. We should not be having this conversation. We spent how many years? When did women's liberation start? The late 60s, early 70s? And equal rights and all the things that were passed and all Title IX, all these things that came along. We worked so hard to give equal opportunities to women in everything that they did, including sports. And now we've just flushed that away. We've gone too far. And this is the Democrats turning. They were the ones that were out there fighting for women to have all this equality 50 years ago, and now they don't care. They don't. They really don't care about anybody but the marginalized. And I don't understand it because the marginalized are voting for them anyway. If you really think someone is marginalized. I feel like the rest of the NFL, Mark, is marginalized by the Kansas City Chiefs on draft night. I just feel this way. It doesn't seem fair. This is like Trump at the negotiating table. Why do teams always deal with the Chiefs knowing it's just going to make the Chiefs better? At some point, Mark, would you think the Chiefs had the 31st pick last night? They traded down one spot with the Eagles to 32 and got the same player they were going to get at 31 and a fifth-round draft choice, which means the Chiefs got better in this deal. At some point, doesn't the league just say, you know what, we're done letting the Chiefs get better on draft night?
Yeah, you'd think that they'd stop trading with the Chiefs, but you know what? Brett Veach is the man, and he keeps dealing, and I'm going to hope that he keeps dealing tonight.
What the Chiefs have, and I said this with Pete about an hour ago, what they have is a different set of rules than everyone else in the draft. They don't have general managers on a hot seat. They don't have a coach that needs this or needs that. They have a coach that says, I have my quarterback. I'll call the plays. We'll figure the rest out. Literally, Brett Veach has been joking with Andy Reid that we need to tank one season and get a top 10 draft pick and then we can get the left tackle that we need for Patrick Mahomes. Well, they got that left tackle last night because before he got hurt, Josh Simmons, who the Chiefs drafted, was the number one tackle prospect on the board for the Chiefs and almost every other team. And then he hurt his knee. And for a lot of teams, you can't draft a player and say, well, we got a left tackle, but he may not play till November. Or we're going to have to work him in slowly. He's hurt, this or that. Other teams, that is death. We were that team. Remember, we were this city. We were that city. We were in a place where, Todd Haley's the coach, and you can't sign a left tackle that can't play until November or something. Like, that's just bad business in Kansas City. But it doesn't exist anymore. They've got scoreboard. This is what I keep talking about with Trump. Once he gets more scoreboard, none of these things will matter. He can do whatever he wants, and nobody's going to question anything he's doing. So the Chiefs do that. But the ultimate question is, if you're the rest of the league, like Buffalo circled back and did it twice. They're like, you're dealing with the Chiefs. You're helping them be better. Yes. Okay, these are not insignificant teams. This isn't Jacksonville, right, trying to dig out of the depths. This is a team that the Chiefs have faced twice in the Super Bowl, and the Bills they've worked over a couple times in the draft that they've beaten down and not allowed to get to the Super Bowl. Why would you do any deals with the Chiefs when that's the team you got to get past? It's like there's this no contract, handshake, wink, wink thing in the NFL. You don't make trades in your own division. You don't help those teams. Why is it the teams that are trying hardest to beat the Chiefs, and the Eagles finally did it, why is it that those teams are the ones dealing with the Chiefs? At some point you'd think they'd step back and go, not us. We're not doing anything. Even if it helps us, we're not doing anything that helps them because that's a net. There's no net gain there. That's a zero. That's a zero-sum game. And yet, Mark, they just keep doing it. They just keep lining up, and the Chiefs move down one spot and get a fifth-round player.
I love it. I love it so much. And what the Chiefs did in the offseason, they got the guy that can play left tackle as your kind of interim left tackle. They have him for this year, maybe next year. But now that they drafted Josh Simmons, you have him as the guy that could potentially be the left tackle for the rest of Patrick Mahomes' career. And that's just incredible that you can get him at the end of the first round and get the trade.
And get the trade and get the free fifth-round pick. And I feel like the Chiefs were 95% convinced going into the draft that Simmons would be there at 31. And if the Chiefs didn't take him, I don't think he would have fallen to their – well, they have another pick coming right up, so maybe they could have got him there. But I just think they're so good, and everybody has to deal with them because they have their own – everybody else has a certain set of rules in the NFL. The Chiefs have their own rules in the draft. They have their own rules because they can. We'll get into that more, and I want to talk about that Giants thing coming up later, and the Royals swept the Astros. I got some fun nuggets with Mark, but I want to toss this one off you, Mark, and tell me what you think about this. There's a man in Kentucky named Michael Rice, and he's got a riding lawnmower, and he allows his son now to cut the grass. And the son did a nice job. I think this is a smaller, older house on a big piece of land in Kentucky. This is not a subdivision. So the son goes out on the lawn tractor and cuts the grass and does a nice job. He finishes up. He puts the lawn tractor in the garage. He comes inside. It's time for lunch. They're going to eat. They sit down and they go, what do we smell? That smells like smoke. And the dad walks across the kitchen and opens the garage door, and the lawnmower's on fire.
Uh-oh.
And the entire garage is starting to ember and burn. And within minutes, the entire house is gone. Toast. Over. They all got out safely. The dad said to the local newspaper, the Lord was with us today. Nobody got hurt. If I did that, my dad would not be saying the Lord was with us today. Now, I want to know what the punishment would have been in your household, Mark, if you had burned your dad's house down when you were like 12 years old.
Man, my dad, I'll say this, he is a pastor, so he might have said that the Lord was with us, but he would have had some other things to say to me as well. I will say that. I don't know. I would have definitely got, we were a spanking family. I would have definitely got my butt whipped a little bit. But, yeah, that would have been, oh, man, that sounds like such a disaster.
There's something crazy. Yeah.
I don't know.
There's something crazy about parenting. I guess the thing maybe was still hot, and they believed that it caught something else near it on fire. Maybe a piece of paper or something was in the garage.
Okay.
And once that happened, it went back up into the mower, and then there's gasoline and things. And the mower was completely in flames when the man saw it. And, of course, that was going up to the roof of the garage, so there were sparks and stuff flying everywhere. There was no putting it out. They got out of the house. They lost everything. I mean, the whole thing burned to the ground. Authorities are saying don't ever put your riding lawnmower in a garage. Well, I got neighbors that do this. Don't ever put your riding lawnmower in a garage. Have you ever heard that?
I have not, but I guess I'm going to be on the lookout for that now because you don't want your house catching on fire, I guess.
No. I know a lot of people that have metal sheds they keep it in, and I know a lot of people that have it outside their home where they park it, and I always wonder why that's parked outside. And I think it's different when you winterize it. The gas is out of it. You're not using it for a few months or something, and you know that it's safe in there. But I've never heard that. So apparently it was just too darn hot when he put it back in there, and it torched the entire house down. I'll say this about parenting, and you may know this, Mark. You may not. You get teens. You've experienced this. When something really, really bad happens, when your kid really screws up, you're empathetic and you feel bad for them, and you know that they don't need much parenting because they know how badly they screwed up. Like my dad would scream at me for leaving my shoes in the middle of the floor, but when I wrecked my car when I was 18, completely my fault, my first year in college, I just hit a pole. I ran into a pole. I was acting like a fool. I thought, I just watched the Indy 500, and I thought I was cool. I took a turn too fast. It was just all me. And I hit a pole and trashed the car, and he was pretty good to me. He was pretty good to me. Like, okay, they're striking. You get one of those because we knew that was coming because you're a young man and you're crazy. And, you weren't out drinking and it wasn't crazy. Like you just were driving too fast. You learned your lesson. Parenting's kind of like that. So if my kid burned the house down, I guess maybe I'd be, thank God we didn't get hurt. That could be a reasonable reaction.
Yeah. Thank God we didn't get hurt. As long as the insurance is covering it and we can rebuild, that's important too, I think, in that point.
All right, let's take one call, I think, real quick here before we break. We got Keith in Kansas City talking about the Chiefs getting it done last night. Hi, Keith. How are you?
Hey, Kev. I hadn't been able to call in to talk about the Super Bowl since we lost, but I was thinking, Kevin, that when Patrick Mahomes came out of the tunnel when the Chiefs played the Buffalo Bills, he was pumping the crowd up coming out of that tunnel. His arms was up in the air, pumping the crowd up, and they won the game. But during the Super Bowl, when he came out of that tunnel, he just looked like he didn't have it before the game even started. And I thought to myself, Kevin, I wonder what happened if these NFL teams hired like a life coach, somebody to get these players mentally ready the night before the game starts. Because if you're not mentally ready, you're not going to take them to the zoo, take them here, take them there, do these things to get them ready. So when they wake up the next day, they're ready to go. So if you're not ready, right. if you're not mentally ready the night before the game, you're not going to perform well the next day.
I agree with you, Keith. Thanks for the call. I do agree with that. I do think the Chiefs got physically manhandled in that game, and they could have come in with the greatest attitude ever, and they were getting beat that day. The Tampa thing was more a deer in the headlights to me than anything. When they played the Buccaneers and lost, to me that was even worse. The Eagles weren't losing that game. We'll look back at that game, watch it again. The Eagles were not losing that game, Mark. They were not going to lose to the Kansas City. And by the way, they were the better team. We got to stop thinking that in Kansas City. The Chiefs maybe got farther than they should have this year again.
I think part of it, too, was the weight of the three-peat. I don't know if they'll ever admit that, but I think that might have come into it a little bit once they actually got to the Super Bowl.
Would you agree with me the Eagles were the better team last year?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It just jumped off the screen at you watching the game. It did. And great for the Chiefs that they got there. That's why teams don't go like 6-1 in 7 Super Bowl appearances. You win some, you lose some, because the really great teams get to Super Bowls that they don't win because they shouldn't have been there. They shouldn't have been there. Awesome stuff. Thanks for the call. Appreciate that. Uncanceled continues. We got Viral Giants fan next on KCMO. All right, the clip that got the most attention from the NFL draft on night one was Clay Matthews opening the draft. The Green Bay Packers great, and you've probably seen that. He referenced Trump and then said the Bears suck. But the one that I want everybody to focus on is a Giants fan in the parking lot pounding Bud Lights before the draft started. Let me the names don't matter much here or where they drafted. The Giants had the number 3 pick. What they want in the first round is quarterback Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss. They need a quarterback. They wanted him. What they need and what they couldn't pass up on was the pass rusher that was going to be there at 3 because he's a generational player that's a given. It's a guarantee. So their hand is forced. They're not going to be able to go that high and get their quarterback. They're going to take the pass rusher. Everybody knows that. But they really want Jackson Dart, the quarterback. So dude's walking around the parking lot doing interviews, and he stumbles across a Giants fan who figures out exactly what the Giants wind up doing. This is unbelievable. And this guy's buzzed pretty good, and he's got a giant beer in his hand. Listen to this.
Andrew, Giants fan, you guys are in the market for a quarterback.
Yes, sir.
Right now on FanDuel, the odds of Jackson Dart is like minus 135. Shadur is minus 110. If you got a quarterback, which quarterback are you taking?
Jackson, there's a dirt in your neck.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You want Jackson Dart?
Yes, sir. Not at 3, though.
Not at 3. Who do you want at 3?
Trade back. No, trade back into the first. So you
Where?
say Abdul Carter. Abdul Carter.
Abdul
You
Carter.
trade back in.
Trade back into the first round.
Yes, sir.
And
We
then
have 2
get Dart.
third-rounders. 2 third-rounders. So you still have a third-rounder. You lose your second-rounder.
So you take 1/3, 1/2, go
So
trade up for like 31.
1.3, Abdul Carter.
Okay.
And then you have back into the third round. Trade your second, one of your thirds. All right, get back into the first round. Right? And drink it. Does that sound right? Does that sound about right?
That sounds great. That checks out.
It checks out.
It checks out, Matt. Checks
Yeah,
out.
let's go.
Giants.
Let's
2
go.
first-round
The
picks.
New York Football Giants. Let's go.
And that is exactly what happened, Mark Van Sickle. If they offered a parlay on all that happening last night for one team, what would the odds have been?
Oh, man, probably like plus 5,000 or something. That would have been a nice bet.
Is that the greatest draft and that pre-draft analysis of all time?
That was pretty solid for a buzzed guy.
Well, I mean, he hit everything on it right?
Yeah.
Exactly the way it turned out. Exactly.
Yep, got to trade a second and a third to get back into the first, and it worked out.
Greatest prediction I have ever heard. Mark Van Sickle, what are the Chiefs looking for tonight?
Oh, man, I think they're looking for a defensive lineman, possibly an edge rusher. I think they got to go defense with their next pick, and then a running back possibly with the pick after that. I'd really like to see that.
Is it too high to go running back with their next pick?
I don't think so, depending on who's there. I think they could definitely go running back at pick 63. They got pick 63 and then pick 66, so a couple picks close together here at the end of the second, early part of the third.
Yeah, no, that's going to be fun. They got a great. If they don't move up, they could. If they see a player, they might move up here. They've got so many picks stacked.
It's true.
That they can certainly move up if they'd like to do that. The Royals sweep the Colorado Rockies in a doubleheader yesterday. That's 4 in a row for the Royals. Last Friday, Mark, you and I were talking about their season ending. They got a win on Sunday against Detroit, and now they've won 3 straight since then. They are 12-14. They're back, baby.
I would love to see a sweep of the Astros this weekend. Hit the trash cans, baby.
Everybody hates the Astros. Really good stuff. Cole Reagans went out of the first game yesterday with a groin injury. He's supposedly the ace of the staff. They're going to monitor that and get him some treatment. The Vince Show is coming up next. Have a great weekend, everyone.